What is up, guys? It is Joe. We're back. We're talking ball about the Cats, and in today's video, we're talking both basketball and football, specifically some mid-season transfer portal talk in both major sports. Some interesting reports coming out this week I do want to discuss relative to Kansas State. But before I do, a quick reminder to subscribe to the YouTube channel as it helps out immensely, and it's the best way to show your support for the channel and help to grow the channel going forward as we look for more K-State fans like yourself, like myself, to talk ball with us about the Cats each week, or I guess every day now. I'm on this daily schedule, and that's another thing. I'm more on the daily upload schedule now. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been kind of hit or miss here and there, but we have had some good stuff here and there as I'm trying to talk more about the Cats and save for my wedding here in the next year or so. But guys, let me jump right into the topic here. Thank you so much for joining in. Now, these are two interesting reports, and I'll give you background on both because whenever you see a transfer portal report mid-season, there's something going on. No one's going to try to distract you from that fact, and I won't try to blow smoke up your you-know-what just based off that. Let me start with basketball before I jump to football. This week, there was a player that hit the transfer portal, and you didn't think too much of it until you saw Kansas State associated with him. Memphis forward Tyreek Smith. This is from a Memphis beat writer who reported, former Memphis forward Tyreek Smith has heard from the following programs since entering the transfer portal, according to his longtime mentor, Boog Knight. Kansas State, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Oregon, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Wichita State, and others. Now, quick off the rip, the reason he's leaving Memphis, it sounds like, was due to an NIL dispute. And to take that one step further, he hadn't played for Memphis yet this season, so that's a little bit of a difference in terms of eligibility this year, and I'll discuss that in a sec, but he's transferred to Memphis this season. After a season at SMU, he had 2 years, or a year at Oklahoma State and a couple other places, so he's been at a couple different programs, but it did sound like it was something NIL related based on an agreement similar to what we saw with UNLV, where he wasn't given the money he was promised, so he didn't play for Memphis. So that's the case. He hits the portal, and he's heard from Kansas State. Now, there's a couple questions I want to specify, but let me show you a little bit of his highlights and talk stats here. Just a quick minute or two. Off the rip, he feels like a big energy, defensive, and rebounding guy. I have some discrepancies in the idea of adding a player in the midseason spot, but let me continue down this list. He's a 6'8" senior from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 223 pounds, averaged 8.2 points and 5.4 rebounds last season at SMU. He also averaged 1.7 blocks per game and a steal a game, as well as shot 68% from the free throw line and 58% from the field. Now, quick thing here. I'll jump right back to me. That's some quick, rapid fire highlights to show you to get a feel for his game. I think there's an element of, is this something Kansas State is actively pursuing, or is this something where, based on everything we've seen this offseason, Kansas State has some money? They've got the NIL stuff set up. They've got the right people in power to figure this stuff out. Is this one where you toss out a big-name NIL program to make yourself look more attractive to other programs? And I'm not trying to accuse him of this because I could be completely off base, but that this does happen. When people include different teams on their list for clout or who they've heard from, blah, 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 it could be a little bit of both. That being said, the eligibility for this, since he hasn't played this season, he's eligible to play immediately. But the big difference here is Kansas State has filled their roster. Now, don't move past that because he could absolutely play as a walk-on. When you have a full roster, you don't have a scholarship to allocate, and it's his final season of eligibility, pending anything crazy, he would have to walk on at Kansas State. That would be an NIL walk-on likely, where you figure out some different things with the NIL collective, and you go from there. Does this mean he sticks at Kansas State? I don't know. Does it mean he still goes to Kansas State? I don't think so. Unless the staff feels like, okay, we need another guy that's going to be an energy guy. Because I don't really see Tyreek Smith playing more than, 10 minutes a game max with the roster we have. And I could be off base. I could be completely wrong about that just because of the limited stuff I have seen of him. But I feel like this is one where it's a little bit more cautiously optimistic. I don't think Kansas State is actively pursuing him. They could be. I know it sounds like he's heard from Kansas State, so that could be anything as big as a, hey, man, what are you looking for out there? Or it could be a, hey, we want you on the squad. So I wouldn't read into it too much yet unless something further comes out. But look into the list of teams on this. There's more needy teams in Kansas State, especially with you have so many good dudes in the front court at our squad already. But if you get a guy that you need for an energy, rebounding, blocks, hype guy off the bench, that's the type of dude that I'd understand adding. His 24/7 write-up also kind of follows suit with that. This past season of the transfer portal, he was the 294th ranked player. For reference, I think Max Jones was like the 360th. So these rankings don't really mean a ton, but the director of scouting, Jerry Meyer, wrote on him saying he's a high-level athlete with solid size for position. He's quick off the floor as a rebounder and shot blocker. Plays with competitive motor, not a ball handler, but is a finisher. Energy, defender, and rebounder type. He does need to build up some body and get stronger, but he's got limited range at this point. That was a couple years ago. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster, so I get that has definitely been a change, but overall, he could be a good basketball player. I just don't know if it's going to happen at Kansas State, but definitely something to watch and report as we move forward. Let me jump to football here. This is a quick one I want to discuss. This one is more speculative than it is confirmed that Kansas State's reached out, but if you missed it, Jonte Cook, a star receiver for Texas, has hit the transfer portal. I say star player in the sense that he's had big moments. I don't think the stats necessarily line up to that yet, but he's a high-name recruit that is going to be a big deal for someone in college football. This year with Texas, he's got 8 catches, 137 yards, and 2 scores, averaging 17.1 yards per catch. Hasn't played a ton, to tell you the truth, but he is definitely a big-name player, so this is a national recruiting guy from Yahoo and Rivals that had reported. Friday night Jonte Cook update. Every big school except Ohio State and Alabama has reached out to the former 5-star wide receiver who left Texas earlier this week at Rivals.com. Kansas State, I'm assuming you fall in that category. You might not. This is one where since he has played this season, he's not eligible to play immediately from what I understand. I could be wrong. I'm not a recruiting NIL type dude. I don't know all this stuff like the back of my hand. So this feels more like a probably next year, if anything, situation. I would imagine it's probably something where it's another SEC school, flips to an SEC school, whatever the case is, but he could jump to the Big 12. He could jump to Kansas State because I think that you're going to see some big-name receivers that are interested in Kansas State. Because of what you've seen for Avery Johnson, you see that the team's going to go on a run this next season. You see the passing game. You see the explosion in the rushing attack. There's so many good reasons to join Kansas State right now, and it's going to be an attractive destination for receivers for sure. I know that Jace Brown's a stud. He's going to be your wide receiver 1. Nobody doubts that. Keegan Johnson's primed to take another step forward next season as he continues to get healthy and more acclimated, but the point is, it's similar to NFL free agency where you see a big name hit the transfer portal or hit the free agency market. In this case, you're looking for the best quarterback to play with. DeAndre Hopkins goes to Kansas City. Not Garrett Wilson, excuse me. Devontae Adams goes to the Jets. That's its own thing. Not a good comparison. But the point is, good receivers look for good quarterbacks and great offenses to play in. Kansas State's going to be an attractive destination. Will that pair up to a Jonte Cook sighting? Probably not, but it could be something to explore as the season continues on, just in case he wants to jump into Manhattan, Kansas. But either way, I felt it was important to talk about both these dudes. I don't think we'll see much action for either of them realistically, but something to watch as the season continues on. K-State basketball takes on LSU on Thursday. That'll be a massive game with Cam Carter returning to Bramlage Coliseum, as K-State football takes on Arizona State on Saturday with a ton of implications to talk about. We'll do that a little bit later in the week, but that's going to do it, guys. I appreciate all the support on the daily videos. I will talk to you soon. Go Cats.